Hey Facts, Brass Guy here. Today I'm going to be talking about a concept that I'm going to be dubbing the civilian Green Beret. Well, concept. Not because I actually think any of us are remotely that cool, but mostly because it conveys my point actually fairly effectively, and I just watched The Abomination that was 16, 14, 13 strong? What most people, and the movie 12 Strong, misunderstand is that Green Beret's primary mission isn't to be these badass shock troops, raiding force, or just, Hollywood super soldier that is often depicted, but instead is more of a force multiplier that typically embeds with indigenous forces, trains them up, teaches them certain weapon systems, and assists them with American assets while having the indigenous force do a lot of the legwork. For the prepared citizen, the community has rightfully mocked the lone wolf type, the guy with all the skills, all the fancy gear, the CQB footwork, the night vision, and most importantly, the single-minded autism about everything's firearms related, all the while being physically unable to talk to girls, with not that many friends to speak of. Guilty and a bit danger close to my entire viewer base there, huh? The analogy is pretty on the nose here. Much like with the Green Beret, these individuals who have significantly higher than average experience in firearms equipment, training, and other ancillary equipment can do a lot to level up or train others in a very short time frame to be an acceptably capable force. This video was sponsored by our boys over at Venture Surplus. Today I just want to point you to their social media platforms. While they are ultimately here to sell you stuff, realize at the end of the day, these guys are kind of like gear nerds, much like you or me, and they act like it. They also have a wide range of experience on the actual products that they sell, kind of a refreshing thing in the industry. So a lot of these videos about these products contain a lot of useful information on their capability and how to use them. How to set up a tarp in a number of ways, the feature set of army combat pants, the effectiveness of certain surplus gear compared to their modern counterparts, how to set up a TAPS rig, you name it. Also, if you're like me and constantly needing to fill out small capability holes in your kit and find it as a never-ending pursuit, having notifications on or seeing new products coming through Venture Surplus's front door is always a great way to consume surplus gear and to, fill out those small capability holes. Anyways, back to the video. There are a couple different vectors for this concept. The first type of scenario is the purest form where I see this playing out. The reality is, very few of us are going to have a large team of similarly motivated individuals that they can all train with right now. Is that the optimal way to go about it? Yes. Is it going to happen in practice? Very infrequently for most. People are busy, have kids, careers, lack motivation, and some people even have spouses. Weird, right? As such, you may find yourself in a friend group that is simply unwilling to approach preparedness with even monthly group sessions or to fill their garage with lifeboat rations. And similarly, you might be friends with your neighbors, they might even be into guns, but approaching them about advanced preparedness might be akin to you trying to sell multi-level marketing, and you might do more damage than good. But I don't think this is an excuse for you and maybe a buddy who do have the time to do this to just let off the gas, throw your hands up and say, c'est la vie, and then, move on with your life. When times get tough, it's very likely that within your friend circles or your neighborhood, many of those former holdouts are going to have a come to Jesus moment about their severely lacking preparedness plan, capability, or all of the above. And they're either going to come to you because they know you are prepared and have those skills, or you're going to go to them, knowing that you need them and they kind of need you more so. And you can be ready for that with understanding, hard-earned knowledge and experience and skills that you've cultivated now, and the ability to pass that on. We don't quite appreciate sometimes how much of our journey is just a shitload of trial and error. And when we bypass that error, you can fast track individuals, once again, not to the highest level, but certainly to a usable level. Which is fine considering most disasters or even SHTF scenarios are not the kind to require a Navy SEAL tier gunfighting skills. And that's not just skills you can pass on. There are certain keystone pieces of equipment like configured radios for your bros, bubble pack FRS or GMR comms that you can hand out to neighbors, water filtration, armor, extra rifles, handguns, extra ammo because how many people only buy just enough ammo from a gun store right before every trip? You get the idea. You and maybe a friend might not be all that much of a force by yourself, but in quick order you can, especially if you plan for it and put in the work, build a group of sufficiently motivated people should the need arise, and their usefulness and effectiveness should not be underestimated. This experienced guys train other guys as a force multiplier isn't just limited to the Green Beret concept and what I've discussed so far. In World War II in the Pacific Theater, a marked difference between the American and Japanese SOPs, especially at the early stages where every battle, pilot, and crew mattered. The US would insist on sending those that had gained experience, something that was really rare for the United States at this point, back home to try to pass on whatever they learned in combat to the new recruits and train them, while the Japanese insisted on keeping those veterans as much as they could in theater for the skills they provided. This ended up really hurting the Japanese at Midway, where they lost a huge number of their fighter corps, which was relatively easy to replace material-wise, but that loss of experience ended up never being properly recovered. I hate to keep referencing Ukraine, but this is sort of an ongoing conflict and we can pull data from it. Early on, and now honestly, those with experience, both foreign and local, who join in, especially for the territorial defense side of the equation, are very often not pushed to the front where they are going to have immediate utility, but instead are kept back to train the next generation of soldiers, as their knowledge and experience is very hard to come by and have continued valued with every generation trained. It goes without saying, should the US or whatever country you might be in were to experience an event like this, where a large amount of irregulars need to be trained outside of the military, boot camp apparatus, those with both general and specialized trainings are going to be extremely valuable. Not for their utility as a fighting unit, though that will certainly be some of that, but for their ability to force multiply themselves essentially by training others.
What a eugenic sunset right here. Right here, folks. Don't shake your head at me.
Even if you already do have a respectable team of like-minded individuals, maybe 4 to 6 dudes, there is still value for that single highly motivated, overtrained, if we want to call it that, dude. While it's certainly possible that you have a group of extremely dedicated, motivated, alpha-esque personalities on your team, in the real world, with real people, there is a varying level of skill, motivation, and, the lack of a better term, alacrity. It will fall to you, the gun autist, the guy that spent the last 4 months training build drills exclusively, the guy that keeps up with current industry trends, the guy that understands it's not just gun skills but survival skills, the guy that actually goes out and works on his preparedness. Take a shot every time I say guy, but it's going to be this guy's duty to get the other guys squared away and to kind of help them on their journey and to kind of take some of that burden off of them. Because they are probably not losers like you that understand the difference between DMR radios or P25 radios, the difference between M855 and pretend M855, why multicam black might not be a great idea, what SPAL means in the context of body armor, what night vision to buy, you name it. Similarly, they might not have the funds, or more realistically, the time to just fuck off for a week and just go on a night vision course, or a CQB training course, a long-range shooting course. These are all very difficult and expensive skills to cultivate, and you can pass a lot of that on in a fairly short time frame. You'll be the guy motivating people to go out on range trips, and then when you get to these trips, you'll probably be the ones designing the drills and the coursive fires and setting par time. You'll be the guy that says, hey, don't fall for this current internet trend, but also the guy that pushes the group forward, both in new skills and sometimes other aspects like, hey, I think we should be using integrated comms now, and kind of show them the path forward. Realistically, though, most groups are made of friends, and of course, others will likely step up and help you, assist you, and maybe even allow delegation to occur. But at the end of the day, much of the impetus or drive behind your team's goals and standards will come down to this individual.
Dude, look at this majestic sunset.
Hell yeah. God raised as fuck.
Do 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 yeah.
After a long decade of being that lone wolf type, then being that guy that kind of got a small group of friends together that I kind of pushed, I now find myself in perhaps the final variant of this, where I'm part of a tight-knit team where everyone is very squared away, motivated, and self-driven. But interestingly, I still think the need to pass on skill and cross-train is just as relevant here. The reality is, no one can, nor really wants to do it all. For example, my cameraman, Tactical Ned Flanders, was the one who took an extreme interest in encrypted comms. He did the research, found what devices made sense, learned how to program them, how to encrypt them, all of which is just incredibly tedious. He then brought that to the group, we all agreed with his findings, and ultimately, all of us bought comms. One of our guys decided to learn how to be a stop-the-bleed instructor, as well as learn advanced medical skills and pass that information on. He also grows crops in his fucking bathroom and did the work to figure out ATAC for us, which is, to be fair, sort of a work in progress for us right now. My friend is also really into comp shooting, but hates dealing with showing up to events, so he designed multiple courses and hosted multiple legit USPSA-style stages, teaching others how to actually partake in one of these events, as well as to humble a lot of people on their actual skill level. The larger, and I'll just call it the sister team, does something similar. They had a guy with real-world tactical rappelling experience to teach that to the group and how to do so, not just out in the open, but with night vision at night, in the day, with tactical gear, you name it. Or they also did recently a water purification class for, you guessed it, to teach people how to purify water in certain scenarios, and they've also done CQB classes where basic CQB skills were passed on to the group and then the sister group. Fuck! This is ultimately what I think a community actually is, not this mythical thing that everyone brags about where an entire rural town somehow comes together on the exact same wavelength, ready to repel communists, but a network of friends, family, and more that work on themselves and aim to add and give to the group, and to improve it for whatever might or might not come.
Why there's so many in here? I think we've been munching on these like 2 days and there's still fucking like 5/6 of cookies in there.
It's party size. It's waiting until the party gets done. Cookies. You give them all, man, a lot of cookies.